Well, welcome everybody. This is, we're at the district office, and it's the 27th. And may I have a motion to return to regular session, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We're now back in regular session. May I have the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we have the lovely Cora with us tonight because Grandma is off with her first grandson.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Rychek will be back at the next meeting, back next week, actually. So, moving on. First thing we need to do is have a public hearing on the contract for excellence. Are you going to present anything for that, or?
I think Aviva was just going to share
I
comments.
can speak
Okay.
with that.
We need to open though first.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, but yeah, we have to open public hearing first. May I have a motion to open public hearing on the contract for excellence?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We're now in open public hearing. Which means, by the way, if you have something to say and you're out in the audience, you can get up to the mic and ask this question.
Okay, so C4E is the Contract for Excellence. It's been several years that we've been designated for C4E. And it had to do with our accountability status. It's sort of the financial end of things up in Albany at State Ed Department. So what happens, initially they gave us a lot of funding to try to address our accountability issues. It's for several years there has not been funding attached to it, but we still need to designate certain positions in the budget for Contract for Excellence. And we have traditionally, because our focus was really on students with disabilities and students with low socioeconomic status, we focused a lot of our energies on the Title I schools and on special education teachers. And this year we did not make annual measurable achievement objectives for English as a new language, and it had to do with our English language learners not making enough progress on the NYSA slot test, not testing out enough, not making enough progress. And so that was the major change we made, was that we designated some C4E for English as a new language teachers. And there's a notification that needs to go out to parents, and we're doing that. So I know I'm bird walking a little bit, but I need to say the public hearing because there's a change in the C4E from last year, and that's really the major change.
Having sat through your tutorial at one of our committee meetings on the new terminology, it's new English language.
Yes, for years it's been ESL, English as a second language, and the state has changed it to English as a new language. But what's interesting is Christine DePierno in personnel said that the certification hasn't changed. So still for our staff, we're calling, I started saying English as a new language teacher, but they are officially still English as a second language teachers because they haven't caught up with that. I assume at some point they will, but our folks may be grandfathered in. I don't really know. The problem with getting it right and saying ENL is that no one knows what you're talking about. So we'll all have to catch up.
That's the reason for changing it. So nobody-
But to be clear, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do. Should we not do it, we would lose the money we're not getting? Is that the idea?
I don't think that at this point, if there's even a loss of funds. I mean, it's a compliance issue.
Right, but we
Frankly,
don't get
it's
any.
not a lot of work on our end. Linda Steinberg has been doing this for us, and it's a pretty easy process. We have it posted. It has to be posted for 30 days. There's this comment period. At your next board meeting, you can approve it, and then it goes up to Albany. So it's not, I have to say, it's not a burdensome regulation, but it's hard to see that it's
Right.
really a helpful one.
Now, since it's mentioned here, is there going to be more available instruction time for students at Haviland and high school, or is it just that you're going to point some of the money at it? And
It really just means that people are designated in one code versus the other. But we are, I mean, I can say it now because we're talking about it, but we are adding another position, another English as a second language, English as a new language teacher because of the new regs. So to be in compliance with the new requirement to serve kids 2 years after they pass the NISA slot, we really needed another position. And we had talked about it last year as being a possibility. We got the scores back a few weeks ago, and it became obvious that we couldn't handle it with the current staff. So, we're actually excited about it because a lot of it has to do with push-in, so that the teacher is pushing in and co-teaching with the classroom teacher, with the general ed teacher, to support kids in the content. So, I think, we actually all really support what they're calling the blueprint for success with the new deputy commissioner on bilingual ed to, really make all teachers of ELs and make sure that people have the right training and the right ongoing support. And Cora and I have been collaborating on that to make sure that all teachers have at least 15% of their professional development be to support English language learners, and that our ENL, ESL teachers have 50%.
all right, now that means we're going to see another new hire in that area beyond the one
Yes.
we were approving today.
Yeah, the one we're approving today is, however we want to look at it. We had a position to fill, and then there's a new position. So the new position's being created, and then we're going to fill it soon.
Okay. So this is a chance for the public, anybody, to ask questions or speak at the mic, or I'm assuming that's not going to happen then. I may have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That brings us to agenda adoption. There are no modifications to the agenda today. May I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And that brings us to Pride. I don't know what you got on the agenda for
I
today.
have a couple things. I have that one of our former students was awarded a scholarship. The student is Claire Burnett, who was a graduate of FDR. She has been awarded the John Honey Scholarship of $2,000. She's also a former Dutchess County 4-H member. She won numerous awards around the time that she was here as an even younger student at the Dutchess County Fair. And the scholarship was named after Rhinebeck Farmers Market founder, John, and I'm guessing it's Honey and not Honey, intended to support the education and future success of a student who is dedicated to promoting local agriculture and enhancing the social, economic, and environmental sustainability of the Hudson Valley. And Claire is at Connors State College in Oklahoma, and she will graduate next May. So we have that. I also had just a note under Pride around all of the summer programming that occurred in the district. And since the board met last. We've had the conclusion of Summer Bridge that includes both.
There is a connection. She's the daughter of the guidance secretary.
Oh, did not realize that. She's also, our scholarship winner is the daughter of one of the secretaries in our guidance department, Gretchen Burnett, who is brand new to the guidance department, we should note as well. Thank you, Debbie, for that. So completion of summer programs. In our Summer Bridge program at Violet Avenue, we have students both in general ed and special education programs. We had our 4th year of Camp Invention that supported almost 100 students in the area of science, technology, engineering, and math. Also in STEM, we had our week-long program for middle school students at Bard. That was the conclusion of actually a year-long program that allows our students to visit Bard for 10 different sessions. And our high school summer school program was greatly expanded this year, and Marianne Silke served as our principal this year. We had 115 students participating, and at the next board meeting, I'll be sharing some updated achievement results that will include not just the August Regents, but also the number of students that attended FDR this summer for credit recovery. So we have a number of students that are starting in the fall with credits that they did not have when they left in June. So we're very happy about that.
I did get stopped at church on the way out the door just last week by a parent of a student that attended Camp Invention. And she was just raving about the program, and the young man, who doesn't speak very much at all, was willing to say, I had fun.
Good. That's exactly what we want to hear.
Actually, it was a really good program. I was there a couple of days, and the kids were having a lot of fun. Almost some of the outdoor activities, throwing water balloons and everything, was a little scary there, but it was a lot of fun. They definitely, and to think that we provide that for free. I mean, it just,
Yeah, I was going to say.
the parents especially are going like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Yep, all of the summer programs that we offer to our families, and it includes just about 500 students, are supported either through district funds or grant funds. So none of our parents are asked to contribute either financially or for transportation. The only exception to transportation is Camp Invention.
Right.
Yep.
And we did have one closed day for the heat.
We did. Yep.
But the other days, I was there also in Violet Avenue a couple of days also, and in the morning it was fine. As it got closer to lunchtime, it just started heating up, but
Yeah, it helped that we were a half-day program.
Yeah. Okay, any other pride, other than a new grandson? All right, let's move on and get down to, is there anything for the superintendent's report?
A few things, yes. One, the district calendar is finished, and if it's not already on the website, it will be shortly. So those are finished, and there'll be some copies available to people. Our Universal Pre-K program is very happy to announce that we, through some twist of fate at the State Education Department, got word that we are being funded at the amount that was originally allocated last year. And I won't bore you with all the details of that, but the result is that last year we had 5 classrooms for Universal Pre-K. This year we have 8, 7 of which are full. So we are thrilled about that. Again, the opportunity to provide families in our community with free, full-day preschool program for a full year prior to children starting kindergarten is really exciting. And
Have we moved any of those classrooms?
I was going to add, with the change in our community, we now have 4 classrooms at Hyde Park Elementary that are run by our colleagues at Abilities First. The other 4 classrooms are all at St. Peter's. So that's Universal Pre-K. Summer is very busy in our district office with the hiring process, and as Aviva mentioned, we've needed to create a position. Principals, directors, and Chris DePierno in the Human Resources Office have been very busy with new hires. We'll be welcoming 17 new teachers to the district next week when we have our new teacher orientation. We've also had some movement in this building. As people visit, they'll notice that our Human Resources Department has moved up into the front where our business office is, and we're very happy about the opportunity for increased visibility and increased collaboration between HR and the business office.
Can I back you up one?
Sure.
You said we're welcoming 17 new teachers.
Yes.
What is the net compared to last year of teaching positions? Have we gone up, gone down, you know?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the end result is that we will be up a little bit, but I'll double check that and let you know if that's all right. I want to make
Yeah,
sure
fine.
my calculation is correct and that it includes any changes that happened after orientation. So I'll get back to you on that. The moves. We've also had a tremendous amount of curriculum writing. It was not at all unusual this summer to see groups of teachers coming in and revising curriculum, updating it, creating assessments, focusing on how to differentiate within our curriculum to support student needs. That's been really, really well received, and we've been really happy about that. I also wanted to mention that the community at large has experienced a loss this week with the passing of John Flowers. And John was known better by many around the table, I'm sure, than by me. But what I know of him and his reputation is that he went to great extremes at every opportunity to support children and families in the district. And certainly I'd want to honor anyone else who might want to speak to that loss. So maybe I'll ask if anyone else wanted to mention that before I do my last piece.
Not specifically, but I was happy to see the coverage in the Poughkeepsie Journal. I happened to be away, but was looking at it on my phone. And you kind of knew that he did a lot of stuff, but once you saw it all written down,
Yeah.
it was a lot. It was really a lot. And I think the one comment said it all, there will never be another John Flowers. So,
Yeah, volunteerism at its best.
yep.
And the last thing that I have is a loss of a different kind to the district. One of our dear colleagues from the Children's Home, Ann Golden, has resigned her position. And I just wanted to recognize her. All of us that have had interactions with Ann, I think are going or are already feeling that loss. Ann has been a fierce advocate for the students at the Children's Home. She's been a wonderful collaborator with us around having the needs of those students met, helping us better understand the needs of some of those students. And in talking with two of our special ed colleagues today, they both were really feeling both a personal and professional loss with Ann's departure from the Children's Home. So I did want to mention that as well.
Okay, I think it's, we should mention the fact that the two electronic signs, the one at the FDR and the one at Haviland, went live this morning. They look spectacular. I did speak to the staff at the middle school, and they said it just blows your mind what you can actually do with it. I told them that we had assured the town that we wouldn't go too crazy, so I hope you'll keep that in mind when you're updating the signs. The other thing is that Superintendent's Conference Day, the day before school starts, is September 8th, and 9th is the start of school.
For grades 1
And
through
all
12.
that stuff is on our website, and it was also emailed to the students, students in the student body, so. I guess, anybody else? And
Well, I was up at the orientation at the high school yesterday,
the ninth graders?
the ninth graders, yeah. And it was, it appeared to be well-attended, and several of the organizations were in the cafeteria hawking their, come join us and you'll have fun type of thing. What was noticeable, in a sense to me, was Dwayne, the young man that sang the God Bless America at a graduation. He hadn't left yet for purchase. He was there sort of straddling, I think, between the music parents and a couple of other areas, talking to the kids and stuff like that. And first time I'd have an opportunity to sit down and talk to him. He's a remarkable man.
Nice kid. Yeah, it is.
Talk about losses, that man's,
Yep.
I want to say leadership, but not really leadership. His exemplary,
leadership.
Here's the way you go, and if you watch me, you can understand it. I'm not going to tout my own anythings, but he just did it the right way every time. I remember 2 or 3 different times. It was, what was it, the President's Men election, whatever they call it, where they root for, or they have a guys contest, and
Mr. President.
he was absolutely outstanding. They asked each of them an individual question, and he just had a way about it to talk, and a message that was so important that I after, with my conversation yesterday with him, I really know that it comes from him, and it's carried to in everything he did. He's an amazing man.
Yep. And he's
Dan,
going to continue that in college and going for theater, and so.
Thank you for mentioning last night's orientation. I should also have mentioned that Haviland had its 6th grade orientation this week as well. Both events went beautifully from everything that I've heard. And we should also mention that both buildings have welcomed new administrative team members this summer. At the last board meeting, the board appointed Lynette Williams as an assistant principal at the high school. And at Haviland, we've welcomed Marianne Silke, who was one of our health teachers at FDR for many years, 9, I believe, and is now one of our members at Haviland Middle School. So thank you for prompting me for that.
Now, is Lynette on board now, or is when does she
September
report?
1st.
September 1st.
Although I will say she has been ever present this summer. She has been so eager to learn about who we are and what we do and how things operate that it has not been at all unusual to see her here, and much of that was at her own expense. Yes, well, I would always rather pull somebody down than have to light a fire under them, so that'll be a happy challenge.
Okay, then we'll move on to probably the most interesting thing on the agenda for everybody out there, the school tax levy and calculation of tax rates.
Okay,
Linda?
thank you. I don't know if I'm putting this in the right spot.
Yes, that's good.
But welcome to my first official board presentation. Tonight I'll be talking about the school tax levy and the calculation of the tax rates. I first want to say that there's 3 main factors for the school tax rates. It's the tax levy, the total taxable assessed value, and the equalization rates. The tax levy is the only portion of the school tax rate that the district has any control over. It's the amount that's used to balance the budget. It's the amount that we're required to raise in property taxes, so we do have a balanced budget. It was part of the budget that was approved by the board and the voters in the spring. And it's also the part of the school tax rate calculation that's subject to the new tax cap levy. The taxable assessed values are determined by each town individually, and the equalization rates are determined by New York State. Equalization rates are important and necessary because each town in New York State determines its own level of assessment, and New York State will determine if those are fair. So as you can see in our calculation, this is the most important slide in the presentation. The whole purpose of this calculation is to arrive at the last 2 columns, the share of the tax levy and the 15-16 tax rates. To arrive at the share of tax levy, we first use the assessed values. As I just stated, those are the amounts that are set by the towns. We have to determine the assessed value for apportionment purposes, and we do that by adding the clergy exemption. Hyde Park is the only town that has a clergy exemption, and the reason we add it back to the assessed values is to make it fair for the other towns so they don't have to make up the difference. The total tax on $4,500 is actually less than $200, so it doesn't affect the tax rates at all, but we are required by law to add it back. Excuse me.
Okay, could you just point out that the tax rate column, the one on the far right,
Yes.
that if you multiply the 38,639,125 by 0.62, you get out the same number,
Yeah.
23,9.
Yeah, that's the
It
next
is
part
all the
that I was gonna
same.
talk about, yeah.
Just want to make sure everybody understood.
You have the equalization rates, which are in the fourth column. Those are the amounts that are set by New York State. Every town except for Hyde Park has a 100% equalization rate. So that means New York State agrees with the assessor's level of assessment. New York State has determined that Hyde Park has assessed their properties at 62% of fair value. So we have to apply the equalization rate to bring the apportionment for Hyde Park up to 1.49 billion. So when we apply the tax rates, as you can see in the last column, the 38.639 for Hyde Park is applied to the first column's amount, the assessed value of 924 million, to reach the share of the tax levy. If Hyde Park had assessed its properties fairly, according to New York State, at the 1.49 billion, then the tax rate for Hyde Park would be the same as the other schools. It would be the the other towns, I'm sorry. It would be the 23.95. There, I've also had some questions where people thought that perhaps Hyde Park is assessing their taxes fairly. So if the state had agreed that Hyde Park's assessment is only 924 million, then the tax rate for every town would be over 30. It would actually be 31.3, I believe. So it is important that we do have that equalization rate.
Now, Linda, that approval we gave to the veterans discount or whatever it is,
Yes.
that is in effect for this collection
It is.
period?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see anything here. I'm just,
It's already included in the first column in the assessed values. There's a slide later on that compares last year's assessed values to this year, and there's a difference for every town. And each assessor explained that part of the reason for the difference is because of the veterans exemptions.
okay, so the assessed value has been reduced by the
Yes.
part we've taken off of their bills.
Right. The assessed value, that's the taxable assessed value.
Okay.
So it includes all the exemptions.
So that's the difference. It's taxable assessed value. So the actual, each of the towns probably has a little higher assessed value depending on the number of veterans they
Yeah.
have who claimed it. All right.
Right. And it includes the other exemptions as well.
Okay.
So this is the slide that just compares last year's tax levy to this year's. You can see the total increase is 1.77%. That's actually within the tax cap limit, so we are in compliance with that. I think we're actually about $3,500 less than we could have been, but it didn't make a difference in the percentage. This next slide, oops, is the total assessed values. Now here's where we see a lot of differences. There's several reasons that there's differences in the assessed values. One of them is the institution of the new veterans exemption, but we also have 3 towns that just had a town-wide assessment. That was Clinton, Pleasant Valley, and Poughkeepsie. They were all reassessed in 2015. Hyde Park had a $13 million change, and their tax assessor attributes that to not only the veterans exemptions, but also the tax certs that have come through. She said they've had a lot of petitions to the court for individuals to have their property assessments lowered, and quite a few of them have been honored. But she also will sometimes look at properties individually and reassess them as well.
And you said that's $13 million, right?
Yeah, that's the total change from last year this year. They haven't had a reassessment since 1994, but they have had individual properties reassessed, and they've also had some taxpayers petition the courts to have the assessments lowered. This spreadsheet right here just compares last year's tax rates to this year's. As you can see, each town's tax rate increased by 2.95%. The reason that every town had the same tax increase is because the equalization rates did not change from year to year. If the assessments had also stayed the same, then the tax rate increase would match the tax levy increase of 1.77%. I don't think we'll ever see that happen, but that explains why the tax rates don't always match the tax levy percentage increases.
Do we know what percentage the tax increase was because of the veterans exemption?
No, we don't.
It's probably
Yeah.
a little different by town.
Yeah, each town is
The rest of
different.
it's probably Hyde Park though, right?
That is the most because we have most of our property in the town of Hyde Park.
Right.
Uh.
I don't know if we had the most better
Veterans.
exemption.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't calculate it that way.
I know when we adopted it last year, I guess we estimated it was gonna be about a 1%, around 1% increase to the other property owners.
1%?
Was it 1%?
I believe that was the number, yeah.
No.
The county can provide us with the information separated out that way. So I can get that information. But I hadn't calculated the taxes that way. I just used the total taxable that they gave us. Oh,
That probably would be important. You know, we had discussions and we based our decision based on those discussions, and we had been given numbers then. But we've got no way of validating those numbers unless we get the actual figures that were the county processed for those changes.
Okay,
Just to,
I
just to
can
see
do
how
that.
close we were or how far off we might have been. I don't think we were far off, but there was some discussions about how many claimed it and how much it would be.
This slide shows the maximum star savings for 2015-16, and like the tax levy, the star is subject to the 2% tax cap. These amounts do not affect the tax rates, but they do affect everyone's tax bills. So these are the maximum amount that the taxpayers in each town would be able to receive in 15-16. And I did compare it to last year, and it is a 2% increase for each town. And then, okay, so our tax collection dates are September 9th through October 8th. And we also have the penalty period from October 9th through November 2nd. The towns of Poughkeepsie and Hyde Park collect our taxes for us. And Hyde Park is assessing a processing fee of 0.004%. It's the same amount they've charged the last 2 years. That doesn't come to the district, but it's actually kept by the town. We also collect taxes online. We collect them here for the towns of Clinton, Rhinebeck, and Pleasant Valley. Poughkeepsie collects taxes online as well. So we'll have a link to the website on our website. The town of Hyde Park does not collect taxes online, but we'll have a link to their website too, so the contact information will be available. So, are there any other questions?
Does the town of Poughkeepsie collect a processing fee?
No, they don't.
Just the town of Hyde Park does?
Mhm, just the town of Hyde Park. And like I said, I believe this is the 3rd year that they've done that.
Okay, are there any questions for Linda? I think it's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That brings us to public participation. May I have a motion to enter public participation, please?
So moved?
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We're now in public participation. If anybody would like to address the board, please step to the mic. May I have a motion to exit public participation?
So moved? Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. At this time, I don't think we have anything to discuss under board discussion, so may I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
So moved?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a couple questions. Under donations, one of the donations that caught my eye was STEM project purchase of a Raspberry Pi computer. Now, a Raspberry Pi computer fits in the palm of your hand.
Right.
I'm trying to understand how the amount of $2,000 coincides with that. So is there anybody in the room that's got any more information about what this
I think it was
donation was?
multiple computers, right?
It is multiple devices, I don't know exactly how many, and it came in part as a result of work that one of our teachers did at Ralph R. Smith. She was involved in a project, did some homework, applied for a grant, and then received further donations around the use of that device. But I'm quite sure that it's more than one.
Okay,
And the intention is that she'll be using it in her classroom this year.
okay. Could I ask that you give us more information about what she plans to do?
Sure.
Because that's a very interesting concept.
I actually read today that it runs on Windows 10. Those Raspberry Pi thing runs a version of Windows 10.
Well, Windows 10 runs on everything from
And
Large
you're right, they're
servers to
little tiny
phones.
things.
So,
For Duffy's PC.
no comment on the age or complexity of the Duffy PC.
Okay, I'd like to also point out with us tonight is somebody that we are welcoming, Alexandra Ferretti, and being approved as a health teacher. So you want to wave to the camera and then everybody, yeah, see? You come, you got to be under the camera, see? Thank you. Okay, all in
And,
favor?
yeah, I would
Oh.
like to talk about the treasurer's report. I see there's a lot of additional stuff in it, and I really like the way it's laid out, and the more information given to the board, so I'd like to comment.
Yeah, it did seem easier to read. Not a whole lot different, but it was, there was
There's a lot
more.
more stuff in it.
Yeah. All in favor, please?
I still have more questions.
Oh, we have more questions, sorry. Dan.
Yeah. Just for public knowledge, could someone explain the rescind appointment for Gail Kavanaugh?
Yep.
The summer school principal?
Oh, sorry, I missed
I can do that, yes. Gail had originally planned on continuing her work with us. She's been our summer school principal for the last couple of years, and at the very final moment, had a family emergency and needed to withdraw. And that happened not in time for the board agenda that was occurring right as Summer Bridge was starting. So we needed to make sure that we documented that and put it on an agenda. Our hope is that at some point she'll return. She's done an amazing job for us. Teachers were very sad to hear that she wasn't returning. And to their credit, I will say that Deanna Gonzalez and Gina Ragioni filled in and took on the administrative supervision of Summer Bridge in Gail's absence.
But they don't need to be cited anywhere for,
Their contract actually allows for additional pay for additional work. So because it's already in their contract, we were able to manage that internally without appointments. Neither of them took on that role through the entire 6 weeks.
And I'll say it is less cost than the stipend. So I know there was a former discussion about that.
The other question that I had, or actually it's a note and a statement, under support staff personnel, there's 3 registered professional nurses that are resigning on this agenda.
One being replaced,
Pardon me?
and one being replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
But my concern here is the turnover rate among our nurses. I'd like to understand, get a better understanding as to whether there's something we can do to enhance retention.
Oh, Regina Celli is closing, so that's one. I didn't quite get the St. Peter's one, though, that
Well,
we still have to
I
present.
don't know whether there's anything here that is public information or exec.
I
But-
think exec.
Okay. But, you know, I just wanted to point out that there are 3 nurses here. That's a
Mhm.
fairly small number of, there's only, what, 15? 10. So a third of our population left on this agenda. So that's, if we lost a couple hundred teachers, would be
Right.
the equivalent among the teaching
But-
staff.
And we should point out that we do have a nurse in every of one of our buildings, right, at this time. It's not that the two that are, other two that are leaving are from Regina Celli and St. Peter's.
We're left with one new hire to do at St. Peter's, and we have a substitute
Okay.
in place for September. So we're doing those
Okay, so
interviews
there's
hopefully next
coverage.
week. There's coverage, yes, not to
Okay.
worry about that.
Okay, so in part, this is due to the closing of Regina Celli,
Right.
at least as part of it. Okay.
You have any other questions? I'm sorry I cut you off before. I
No,
didn't
that's
realize you
okay.
had other-
Normally a straightforward,
Yeah, yeah. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I have a, this gets this down to, let me get down there. Special education. I have a motion for special education placements, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Dan?
I've reviewed the packet and recommend its adoption as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I have a motion for 11.2, consultant agreement for special education services.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? Dan? No?
Actually, I don't know if I can do it now, or we'll have to have a separate one, but one of the agreements is not going to happen after all.
Which
It
one?
needs to be removed. The second agreement. of the
Okay.
Consultant agreements.
We can just do this with an amendment then.
Yes, we'll have to, well, we have a motion on the table, but I need a motion to amend.
move that we amend the prior motion by striking the second name from the list.
Second for that?
Second.
Fine. All in favor of the amendment? Now for the original thing, all in favor of 11.2? Opposed? Thank you. And thank you, Aviva, for, otherwise we've had to come back and do it over again, so. I have a motion for 11.3, authorization to correct tax errors.
Second.
Just reading. Any discussion? All in favor? I have 11.4, authorization to collect taxes electronically. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. 11.5, confirmation of tax rolls and authorization of the tax levy as was presented.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Can we take a step back to 11.4 for a minute?
Sure.
One of the things that has been bothering me since Linda's presentation, and it's not Linda's presentation, it's the reminder that Hyde Park is charging a fee to collect taxes for the school district. I was appalled when we first discovered that. I am still appalled by the fact that they apply that fee. And then I noticed, or now that it's right in front of me, authorization to collect taxes electronically. So this means that people can pay their taxes to the district directly through a website without going through the Hyde Park
I believe that's true, yes.
assessor's office?
It's only for the towns of Clinton, Pleasant Valley, and Rhinebeck, because we collect taxes for them here.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
We can't accept online payments for the town of Hyde Park or for the town of Poughkeepsie.
What would it take to make it possible to do so?
I'm not sure if we can. I think it's a statutory issue because the town of Hyde Park has a tax receiver. So I believe she's the only one authorized to collect taxes in this town. I don't think we can collect taxes for the town of Hyde Park.
My recollection of the conversation at the time was that it was an option and we chose not to exercise it.
I can look into it.
I would like that, if it were at all possible to provide that service to the residents of Hyde Park. and not pay a fee to have their taxes collected for them. That seems like a good thing.
Yeah, even though it's a very small number, it's still money that shouldn't be spent. Yeah.
And, you know, it's a very small number on significant sums.
Okay, yeah, any other comment on that?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Just a question, when we did all the calculations and budget preparation, was that 0.04% in there? Did
We
we,
don't pay it, the taxpayers pay it directly to the town.
but what happens is the net collected money available by the district to pay has been reduced by,
It's added to.
It's
the
added to what we get.
taxpayer's bill.
Their bill is
Yeah.
increased.
oh, when we
Yeah.
generate the tax bills, that fee is generated by, is added to it by the county?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the county adds
Oh, I just love these systems.
And they said that organized crime was illegal.
Politically organized crimes is a different story, I guess.
By the way, for anyone watching this on TV, that particular item was not slipped through by the current administration of the town.
That is true, that was Marino.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah,
By who?
you know that person.
Uh,
Okay, moving on. Well, we'll get, we don't want to get into that. I have a motion for 11.7, creation of positions.
I think we're on 6.
Oh, did I miss? I'm sorry. 11.6, authorization to close completed capital project and authorize transfer of funds.
So moved.
Have a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now we're at 11.7. Have a motion for 11.7, creation of the 1, 2, 3, 4 positions as noted in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Now I'm confused, I guess. I hadn't read it that carefully, but these are positions that are new compared to last year? Wasn't there a ENL, quote, ESL, whichever, we talked position at the high school?
Yeah, the new hire that we did for the high school, we're moving to work at Violet Avenue School. And, you know, there's just some changes in where people are. So the opening right now is at FDR. We just move people around.
So the new position we're hiring is a full-time position also?
Yeah, it's full-time at the high school, and it will still be only one full-time teacher at the high school.
But I thought in the personnel matter, let me get back to the personnel.
We don't have anyone appointed yet. Oh, Derek may still be listed as FDR High School.
That's what I'm
He
looking.
might still be listed, he'll be at Violet Avenue, though. I don't think that means you need to make a change. I mean, those things are not usually board approved, but I'll say it for the public and, you know, that he will be assigned to Violet Avenue. And if you want to make that amendment before approving the whole thing, that would be
Okay,
great. Thank you for catching that.
Okay, moving on then. Bringing us to 11.8, authorization to close scholarship and move remaining funds. This has to do with the scholarship funds for the class of 1944, which has not been awarded recently.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion for 11.9, consultant agreement for the ALS services. And ALS stands for, what does it stand for?
It looks like it's emergency paramedics.
Oh, the paramedics, yes, yes, of course.
And ALS stands for?
All right,
In this case, it's not Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
Do you know? Say it again? Yeah, advanced life support.
It's life support. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Did we have a motion yet?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Have a motion for 11.10, waiver of conflict of interest, has to do with our lawyers.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. It always bothers me when anybody talks about waiving a conflict of interest. I trust our attorneys a great deal. They've provided a significant service to us. And if we decline this, that means that we would potentially have to go find a different attorney to represent us in these
Can
negotiations.
anything involve the CIA?
Yeah. So it is with a certain amount of reluctance that I support this, but I just
Okay.
wanted to point out that,
Right. We have in the past actually not waived it
Yeah.
and had to hire other lawyers for specific things.
Have we already approved the agreement for the exchange of services?
no.
Not to leave the public in the dark, what has taken place is that the school has agreed to allow the CIA to utilize our athletic facility for their soccer team. Apparently, they've got one college competitive team there, which is a soccer team, and if you drove by there, it looks to be about a third of the size or a half the size of any soccer field I've ever seen, and to be played at a college level is amazing. And in turn, they're offering us the use of their pool for our, so the exchange of service, we get to use their pool for our swim teams, and they get to use our soccer field. So it's a trade that benefits both groups, and seems a fair uppance of exchange of facilities.
Yep.
Something I'd like to
Considering we
point
were
out.
driving to Marlboro
Yeah.
the whole
Oh, yes.
last year, so, yes.
If anybody who's watching this is hearing of this for the first time, one of the great advantages of it is that there isn't going to be any conflict in terms of the times
Times.
when
yeah.
they want to use the field.
Right.
So it's not going to prevent us from taking advantage of our fields. It just,
Correct.
uses it at different times, and so there's no disadvantage to us at all,
And
all
it's a
upside.
big deal for the swim team.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we didn't vote on the waiver yet, if I recall. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I have a motion for 1111, consultant agreement for videotaping of board meetings.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? I think it's, I have a comment. I would say I'm very happy to have a full-time person assigned to this that,
He's not assigned to it.
Hmm?
It's as needed.
as needed, yeah. But when Mr. Hughes cannot be here, we've had trouble videoing the meetings, and I think all of us have run into enough people who say, wow, I saw you on the TV the other night or something. The public, I was surprised at how many people actually watch these meetings. I'm sure they fast forward through a lot of it, but it's still a popular thing.
And the only way
So-
you gotta remember, the only way to fast forward is to record it in advance and then watch
Yeah.
the recording of it.
But you can go
Not
on,
true.
now you can go on YouTube.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, you do it on YouTube.
I didn't realize. So it's being streamed?
Actually, there's a lot of people that don't know that.
And actually,
I'm
I've
surprised at that also.
talked to people who've seen both on the cable and on YouTube, and they say the audio is much better on YouTube.
On YouTube?
Maybe we ought to put that on the website. Yeah.
It is on the website.
They
It is the link to YouTube?
The link, yes,
Okay.
there are. That's interesting, it's the same file.
Same file, but there's been a long-term problem with the equipment that uploads the
Oh, okay.
video to the Cablevision
For the
system.
cable bit, okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay, we're back to the second public participation. May I have a motion for public participation, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? I'm going to assume, unless somebody jumps up, there is no need for one. May I have a motion to close public participation? We have a second? We had a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Fine. Other matters deemed by the board, there are none. Board subcommittee reports, I don't think we've had any subcommittee meetings since the last meeting. I can't think of any. That brings us to upcoming meetings. So well, first let's say the school will open on Wednesday, September 9th, 2015 for grades 1 through 12. And on Tuesday, September 15th, for kindergarten students and pre-K.
No, pre-K will also start on the 9th.
So 1 to 12 and pre-K start on the 9th,
Correct.
but kindergarten
Mhm.
starts on the 15th. May I ask why?
Well, the kindergarten and the UPK dates are unrelated. UPK follows as closely as possible the district's calendar, so they are starting the same day most of our students will start. We moved to the later kindergarten start date last year because rather than doing kindergarten screening in the spring, as had been done for many years, the decision was made to do screening during that first few
week.
days of
Okay.
school.
All right.
So that we have more recent information on the little ones joining us the following week.
Okay, great. And the next Board of Education meeting is here at the administration office at 7 p.m. on September 10th. And that brings us to no need for another executive session. No need to return. Wow. Have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much.